Hello bookworms! Today I'm going to be sharing my December TBR with you. I had kind of a weird reading month in November. I didn't really film many videos, but I ended up reading like so much, and I'm kind of like dreading doing a wrap up because there's just so many things to talk about and a lot. I read a good amount of novels, but I also read like a lot of Star Wars comics. And yeah, I just like went completely off of my TBR, didn't read like anything that I had planned on reading. My attention went in other directions and I just kind of went with it. I was craving some comfort and yeah, that's what happened. So what I've decided to do is, instead of kind of rushing and trying to read everything that I really wanted to read in 2021 and like put a whole bunch of pressure on myself for December, I decided that I'm just kind of gonna have some fun with my reading month, which I mean, ideally that is always the case. I am always reading the things that I want to read, but like I'm not gonna force myself to read Oathbringer in December because I had wanted to read it this year. It's okay if I read it in the beginning of next year or something, or like whenever I feel like reading it, that is when I will read it. I have kind of a different TBR because there's a lot of things that I feel like I might be in the mood for. I think I'm craving a lot of like comfort reads and then also craving some romance because those are usually light and fun. But with the holidays coming, I think I'm just like not going to have the attention span for anything too heavy. Though I do have a couple of fantasy books on my TBR and perhaps I should start with those. So first up is Jade War by Fonda Lee. This is the second book in the Greenbone saga. I read the first one back in September, I want to say, and I really loved it, and I've been really looking forward to reading the next book, and it was just calling to me. I actually like made a TBR list for myself, like a draft for this video, and I was looking at it and I was like, you know what? I'm gonna throw that out the window. I'm gonna pull things off of my shelf right now that are appealing to me in the moment, and this was for sure one of those books. I am so excited to continue this series, and I'm so glad that the third book comes out so soon, so I definitely want to be caught up and ready to go. For anyone who doesn't know, I think probably everybody has a good idea, but it follows a bunch of siblings and it takes place in a fantasy world. There's a lot of like very powerful families, so it kind of has like mafia vibes. It's really exciting. The characters are really compelling and the magic system is fascinating. I also really want to read Daughter of the Moon Goddess by Sue Lynn Tan. This book comes out in January, so I have an advanced review copy of it, and it's one of those books where I actually would drop everything to read it because the plot sounds so compelling. So I really want to have this read before the release date so that I can give you guys my review of it. It sounds absolutely incredible. It's based on ancient Chinese mythology and it's following our Daughter of the Moon Goddess who has basically been hidden away on the moon for her whole life, but she doesn't realize that she's being hidden. She thinks that it's just like normal, but her mom actually had to flee because she stole the Emperor's elixir of immortality, so she took her daughter with her. They've been hiding on this moon, but when the daughter's powers flare, her existence is revealed, and then she has to kind of go out and explore and get acquainted with what else is going on in this world, and it sounds like it's going to be great. It's a duology. This is the first book, and I've been so highly anticipating it. Then I'm going to be reading Vox Machina, Kith and Kin. This is by Marieke Nijkamp, and I'm so excited to read this one. It is based on two characters from the first campaign of Critical Role. There's an animated series of the first campaign that's going to be debuting on Amazon in February of 2022, which is like way sooner than I expected, and I really want to have this read before then so that I can get familiar with these characters. I believe this is a prequel story that takes place prior to the events of the Vox Machina campaign, following Laura and Liam's characters, but I'm really looking forward to reading it. Andrew and I are actually going to a book event tonight where Laura, Liam, the author, and Mika Barton are all going to be talking, and I've been so excited for it for months now. Then I have a couple of wintry reads. So I really want to read Midnight in Everwood. This is by M.A. Kuzinar, and it is a Nutcracker retelling, and I have been wanting to find a good Nutcracker retelling for so many years, and I'm I'm very hopeful about this one. I ordered my copy from Waterstones because it had these really beautiful sprayed pages, so I'm really hoping that I'm going to end up just falling completely in love with this story. I have also really wanted to start reading Disney's Twisted Tales, and I think that I'm going to start with Conceal, Don't Feel, which is the story about Anna and Elsa. This one is by Jen Kalanita. I think this one is like 11th or 12th in the series. I don't know the exact number, but my bullet journal theme for December is Frozen, and I've been really wanting to like rewatch the movies, and I've had a lot of the songs stuck in my head, and I was like, you know what? It would be a really fun time to start reading this book too, and I've heard really good things about this one, so very excited to check it out and then hopefully read more of the books in the series because they all sound so good, and I just like haven't gotten to any of them yet, so I'm excited to change that. Then I have a Christmas story, so Window Shopping by Tessa Bailey. This one is actually very short, so I think that I'll read this pretty quickly, but this is a Christmas romance story. It takes place in New York City, which I love Christmas in New York. It's basically my favorite time of every year, so the fact that Tessa wrote a story that takes place here, I feel like I'm going to end up loving it. Then I want to read As Good as Dead by Holly Jackson. This is the third book in the A Good Girl's Guide to Murder series. I read the first one a couple months ago, and I read the second book last month, and it was amazing. Like, I loved both books so far. The second one was definitely darker than I was expecting, and like there were parts of it where I was like gasping out loud. I actually listened to the audiobook, which is very compelling because it feels like you're listening to a podcast, and I ended up like texting one of my friends who had read it already like right away because I was just like dying. Like, I was giving her live updates as things were happening, and I'm so excited to finish out the trilogy, but I'm also like really sad that it's coming to an end because I feel very invested in these characters and this town and like getting justice for everyone who's been done wrong. I don't know about you, but I have been absolutely loving the Hawkeye show on Disney Plus. I don't want to say it's my favorite show yet because I want to see the entire series before I make that claim, but I have a funny feeling that it could push WandaVision out of my top spot for TV series in the Marvel universe so far. Just from like the first couple of episodes, it's just been absolutely incredible. It kind of comes as no surprise because I have already read the Hawkeye comics by Matt Fraction and David Aja. I read them when they came out in single issues. I used to go to the comic book store every Wednesday, grab my comics, and this was a series that I read as it was released. So it's been a really long time since I have read them, and just watching the show has made me so excited, and it has made me want to like give these another read. So very much looking forward. I'm only holding the first one up, but I actually want to just reread all of them. And then lastly, I always pick up fun like coffee table books because in theory they sound so good, and I love the idea of like having them as coffee table books and displaying them around my apartment, but I'm kind of terrible at actually reading them. I tend to read actual novels or graphic novels or manga or whatever. I just never really pick up the coffee table books. I think partially because they're kind of like challenging to read usually. They're usually like pretty big books, but I am making a goal for myself where I will start reading some of the ones that I have, and I thought that this would be a good one to start with. This is the Star Wars Archives. It's episodes 4 through 6, and it covers all of the years during the original trilogy. There was actually a second installment of this book that was written, and it has like a red cover that follows the prequel era, but it's only available in like a super big oversized version. So they released this, I think it was the 40th anniversary. So I'm hopeful that they will release the prequel version maybe for like, I was gonna say 20-year anniversary, but we might be past that. But I'm hopeful that they'll release like a more compact version of the prequel one too. But I'm quite looking forward to reading this. There are a couple of other books that I want to get to as well, but I couldn't find them. I don't know where they went. They're in my pile somewhere, so I'll be picking those up as well. I have no doubt that I'll end up reading more than I just mentioned here. Like I said, I just want to kind of keep things light and fun this month and just have a lot of comfort reads and comfort franchises to keep me company. So let me know what you are planning on reading in December, or if you've read anything that I've mentioned. That's all that I have for this video, and I will see you guys soon in a new one. Bye!